Welcome everyone to the December 12th, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. I'm going to ask Carla Heron, please, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Heron. I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left is our Vice President, Jeff Benton. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, our Administrator, Mike Fromer, and our Clerk, Sarah DeNovo. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-1218, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held December 9th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1218. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public comment this morning. Resolution number 19-1219, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants and batch number CMA PR 1211.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1219. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1220, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1220. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1221, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jared Zarillo with Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. The appropriation will be used as a pass-through of funds to our housing board, which is Summit Housing Development Corp. The monies are received from the state, and we just pass it on to our housing corporation.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1221. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-1222, in the matter of declaring personal property obsolete, unfit, or not needed for public use.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning. We are asking to auction off our 2011 Chrysler van that has a lift and our 2012 Dodge van that does not have a lift onto Gov Deals. We currently don't use them to the full capacity, and we would like for a provider or for a community partner that needs them to be able to use them better.
Are they high mileage vehicles or?
One is a high mileage. I think it's in the 65,000, and one is very low. I think it was around 13 or 15.
All the miles is on it?
All the miles that are on it, yes. This is back when we used to have transportation vehicles. We've gotten rid of all of our fleet except for these two. The intent was to be used for like carpooling or for staff to take the trainings, and it is just not efficient. They're big vans and not really economically efficient.
So they won't be replaced then?
We will not be replacing them.
Okay, well, good. Good.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1222. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Durr.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-1223, in the matter of approving a permit for Delaware County facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jane Hawes, Director of Communications. We have before you the first of two facilities permit requests. Both these are going to be for the conference room up at the Willis Building, and because both of them do involve an organization that's affiliated with county government, and it takes place during business hours, we recommend no fees be levied on these. This one is for Job and Family Services. They're hosting a meeting of the Human Resources Association, which covers JFS organizations throughout the state. So, and hosting, it's a quarterly meetings, so.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1223. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1224, in the matter of approving a permit for use of Delaware County facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
And this one is with the Delaware General Health District, their food safety classes. They have 4 meetings scheduled in 2020, and would like to use the conference room for that as well. So we recommend your approval.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1224. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19 dash, well, sorry, resolution dash, try all again. Resolution number 19-1225, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Brad Lutz, Director of Business Operations and Financial Management. Start off with on a lighter note today. I consider myself very lucky to be here today. I told Jen this morning I was puked on first thing when I woke up by my little guy, not me.
I see your son.
Yeah, he did it twice, which I thought was very impressive. He did it once. I was like, Kelly, come help me. And then Kelly walked in the room and he did again. And I'm like this with him, so it stays here. So I had to change clothes. And then my car wouldn't start. I think it's a bad battery, so I'm going to go over to the AutoZone later, get that. And then I was literally 2 miles from my house. I'm not making this up. A car pulls right out in front of me.
Oh, my gosh.
And if there wasn't a median there, it would have been in the ditch or hitting the car. So
Oh, my.
I would have turned around, except, I have a meeting today with Commissioner Benton. It's extremely important. And I said, come heck or high water, I'm getting to the commissioner's office. So I'm here
We're
today.
very glad,
But-
very, very happy to see you today.
But after this meeting, I'm going to go hide under my desk and wait for the sky to fall. So, before you today is a supplemental appropriation, very straightforward one, just appropriating monies in the flexible spending fund, $20,000 to pay premiums and claims. The money is obviously available in the fund. The fund is fully funded, so I have no concerns with approving this supplemental.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1225. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution 19-1226, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for the Board of Elections.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So obviously, you guys will go into the details of this in regards to the questions the commissioners have, but I did want to clarify a point with this that, and it truly is my fault, I didn't understand fully how this appropriation was being done and handled. So in short, this is an accounting change like we discussed last time, but it's an accounting change related to the monies that the state of Ohio contributed towards the project. So even though the state of Ohio, as I understand it, did not give us money directly for the machines, we did in fact benefit from receiving those funds. So we are appropriating those funds as an expense and a revenue item in the general fund, once again, strictly from an accounting standpoint. So we are benefiting from those revenues, so those revenues should be counted on our financial statements. And obviously, they were expended, so the expense gets applied to our financial statements. But once again, it is strictly an accounting fix, if you will. Those darn auditors, that's all I gotta say. No, just but Board of Elections, if you'd like to speak to the specifics.
Yes, Anthony Sadie from the Board of Elections, with Carla Herron here as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions, especially relating to Monday. I'm a little bit more prepared this time. I was a little caught off guard. I apologize.
Well,
Monday.
that wasn't your fault getting caught off guard. You happened to be passing through the hall.
Exactly, yeah, I just went upstairs to talk to Brad Ewens, and
So
then,
there's nothing to apologize for. We should be apologetic in how we set it up. I guess also, the question, we had a meeting in the summer, and I was 10, 12 items, whatever the number was, areas that was a concern of ours and yours. And I think as a commissioner, it was my expectation that we would hear back as far as where we stood on those items. And I realize we may not have answers until we actually use them in the spring, but all the more reason I think we need to have an understanding and appreciation that we're going to hold the vendor responsible if they fail to perform. And we just never had that conversation.
Yeah, we apologize. for
yes, understood. I will say that, as I said on Monday, they did get certified through the state of Ohio on last Friday. They gave us the release notes of everything that was included in that, and I was able to find almost all of our points that we laid out in the contract to be fixed. There was a few of them that were not, mainly because they were already in there, and we just didn't know how to use it when we got the equipment. And a couple things that Carla and I knew going into it that the vendor would not do, is like, for example, auto-generating a test deck. They want to be able to control the ability to do that, and we understood that going into it. But of the let's say about 20 points here, 18 of them are in those 2.1 release notes. So we haven't had hands-on with the equipment yet. However, it's supposedly addressed.
The word supposedly is the word that concerns me. So I guess what I'm asking is, and I appreciate you coming here and being forthright, what I'm asking is that we confirm with us after the March primary that in fact those areas have been addressed, and if not, we need to hold the vendor accountable.
Understood, yes, for sure.
And then, the second issue was the machines that didn't work at the last election, was how big a problem that was that, and what's the vendor doing to correct it?
Yes,
Mike, I think, had a comment on it.
do you have a comment, Mike?
I was just going to ask, put Eric on the spot and see if he recalls the warranty that's associated with this contract.
Specifically, no, I can take a look at it.
Okay.
I can speak to it a little bit, not from an attorney's, but just as a layman, and I also spoke with the vendor yesterday about the warranty, and I have a copy of the contract portion of it. But speaking to your point directly, Commissioner, I consulted the rover logs, the field technician logs. Every time that they encounter a problem on election day, they're supposed to mark it in a logbook and keep track of it. And we found 24 of the 844 deployed ballot marking devices had that issue that you had. I believe you had 2 at your location that had that issue specifically. That's what I saw from the logs. Unison is having, Unison, the company that manufactures the equipment, they're having a hard time replicating the issue. So what they're going to have us do is send 3 or 4 of the units that we know had the problem back to them in San Diego, and they can look at those units directly. They're also going to review the code that programs the machines and contacting the manufacturer of the light source in the scanner and see if they have any advice on how to correct it. And they hope to have an answer with more information in the next couple of weeks here. However, speaking to the warranty section, everything is covered under the manufacturer's warranty up until May, and we have the March primary, so it's all going to be covered up until May. And we budgeted for yearly maintenance agreements, which basically extends the warranty out as long as we're paying for it. So what that covers is we always do what's called preventative maintenance, and any issue that we would have seen on election day will be tested. Each piece of equipment, not just the issues that we saw, but each piece of equipment will be tested, and as well as the logic and accuracy testing will also make sure that every piece of equipment is in working order before it goes out on election day. And anything that would come up during those testing periods, the vendor would come out to our site and attempt to fix it then. And if it still can't be fixed by the vendor on site, then we would ship the units back and have new ones returned to us before election day to make sure everything's in working order. Do you have anything to add, Carla?
I think just on the performance base, we're talking about hardware, but just to reassure you, as far as the firmware and the software is concerned, we did have a recount to really see how the equipment tabulated and worked, and for the City of Powell, that race, and everything came out the same. The recount went very smoothly. And in addition, we went ahead and did an audit for the countywide race, the municipal court judge, because that had opposition, and we hand counted well beyond, I think it was it 10% we hand counted in the race?
I think so, yes.
I think we went as far as to hand count 10% and compare. So I just wanted to assure you the performance as far as reading in, tallying, tabulation, that it did perform well and
Matched
accurate.
spot on, yes. Our hand count to I think it was at 8%, 8 to 10% or something that we hand counted.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to add that we agree with you, and I think we all have the same goal. The goal is to have the best version of this equipment as we can get. We're going to push for that, and we hear what you're saying. We recognize some of the issues that you experienced, and our goal is just like yours, is to get this equipment to the best place it can be, and we'll continue that. Every election, not just one, but each election, we'll evaluate it and keep pushing for a better product.
Yeah, the vendor is still asking for our feedback and intends to implement any kind of suggestions that we come up with, after 2020, just because we can't do it in 2020. So, and also in the 2.1 release notes, with the new version, there's a lot of things in there that we're going to benefit from that we did not specifically ask for. So they are continually improving this product.
Just have two other comments now, I'm finished. You used the term workaround on Monday. That's not a term that makes me feel good inside. You want the equipment to work as it was intended to work. When you start talking about workarounds, you can think of all these imaginary silly steps that maybe the voter has to go through or poll workers have to go through. It ought to work the way it's supposed to work. And that's, so maybe I'm splitting hairs, just want to make that statement. And go ahead, you want to say something?
Yeah, again, I was caught off guard on Monday. I apologize for that, but I spoke too soon. They need to still figure out what the issue is with the scanner before they are able to address it properly. But as I said before, any kind of scanner that we would see, any kind of scanner issue that we would see in the testing phase, that would not be released on Election Day. That's what I mean by it's hard to replicate. I mean, everything that went out, even the two that you had issues with at your location, those were working fine during the logic and accuracy testing process. Whether there was something malfunctioning in there or something that happened during the shipping process from the trucking from the Board of Elections to the location where something got knocked around, it's hard to say at this point.
I'm going to take your words and use it against you. If they're that fragile, that transporting them to the side is going to be a problem. That over the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to be a huge problem.
Absolutely.
So the equipment cannot be that fragile and has to have an expectation it's going to have a reasonable life expectancy. So, any other comment I'd have, I'd like for you to come to us after the March primary, before the May end of the year, and kind of give us an update of where we stand, all those issues that were supposed to be addressed, were they all addressed? And if not, why? And if you'd be willing to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
We'd be happy to do that. I just want to add just one more point as far as when you said whether it is in.
Could you speak just a
Yes.
little bit closer? You have
Sorry
such
about
a
that.
beautiful voice, but I want to make sure everybody hears it.
I apologize.
No problem.
The one thing we have very hands-on staff, and we're not just going to send it to Unison. We're also going to do our internal testing, and we will do whatever we can to assist in that as well, because there is something, maybe not just transportation, I guess lighting. When our group in the warehouse came back, they said that they couldn't replicate it, but when they put the privacy shield around and it was a darker environment, that it did have problems scanning. So it may not, so there's several things on the table that we're looking at.
Okay, for real.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you for your diligence, and thank you for coming again.
Yeah, I'll see you next week probably. We'll see.
Yeah, thanks so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Really appreciate it. Okay. Are we in administrative report?
We got to vote.
Vote, please.
Oh, vote. Oh, sorry, we do have to vote. Yes.
Vote on motion 19-1226. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Now administrative reports.
All right.
I'll be short and sweet. I'm glad that Brad made it today. I had no
Yes.
idea the challenges that were in front of
Gee.
him today.
Oh, my gosh.
But I'm going to stay clear of him this
I
afternoon.
know, if you could just kind of stay in your room.
Distance,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You should have told Jared that.
I know, right, right. You be
No,
careful, Jared.
I have nothing to report today. So.
All right, it's Commissioner
I have nothing
Merrill's
today.
turn. Oh, my goodness.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
All right.
Okay.
You didn't look at my list.
I did look at your list.
Great. Just a few things. We had the TID meeting yesterday, and that went well. Administrator Fromer was there, and they continue to work on specific projects and make progress on utilizing the special powers of the TID, and one project in particular. So it's good to see that thing moving along and functioning well. Going to a MORPSI lunch today on emerging trends. Bill Lafayette's one of the speakers, and it's kind of a central Ohio what the big trends are, so that I'm looking forward to that. Got a legislative update tomorrow. Judge Sunderman's reception is tomorrow afternoon for his retirement, since he's not going to be judge after this year, so I want to go to that. Central Ohio Symphony is having their Christmas concert Sunday. They're having two, one at 2 o'clock and one at 4:30. So that's
they're
always a
good.
great event. And this year, the featured music is going to be from Frozen.
Oh,
So we're taking one of our granddaughters to it, and she'll probably have her Frozen tiara on, so it'll be very cute. And I wanted to compliment Director Fischel on this EMS survey that was done. He started doing this every month now, and Delaware County got an overall mean score of 96.59, which is 3.5 points higher than the average score. You know.
the average in Ohio. Huh?
Yeah, in Ohio, all the participants, and it's very, very high. And the one area that drags it down a little bit, where we're below average, is in the billing services, which we don't even do. So I know Director Fischel's looking at how to improve that score. But again, phenomenal score and great survey results, because they survey their actual patients that they contact and get feedback. And that's a phenomenal score for being so new to the survey function. So anyway, that's all I got.
Commissioner Lewis, I lied, I do have something.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Actually, I have two things. Your comment about my coming to TID meeting yesterday.
Great.
I was at the original planning meeting, but he had to leave, so that reminded me, we're in the process of filling open an executive session. That will be voted on next Thursday night.
Oh, okay.
So,
Delaware Regional Plan.
right,
Okay.
due to a resignation we had. And the other thing that you made a comment, the breakfast, all-you-can-eat breakfast at the hardware store.
Oh, that's right, that's Friday,
Is this
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, and I know we mentioned it last year, but is Mr. Freeman the person that's in memory of, or the?
Can't remember, it wasn't a gentleman I knew, but.
Okay, but regardless,
Yeah,
it's
they-
an annual breakfast that they have. My son and I will be there at 7:30, and we go every year, and the money that's raised is for local charities, et cetera. They determine each year how they use it, and would strongly encourage you, if you've never been to it, go to it.
Yeah.
And it starts about 5 in the morning and goes to about 11, and,
5 in the morning? Oh, my
well, you don't
God.
have to be there at 5.
Oh, yeah. I have to leave and get
You're
ready.
going to see a lot of people you know from the
3
community that
a.m.
are
Yeah.
cooking back there behind the, and it's really a neat affair, and I would strongly encourage you, if you've never been, or if you've gone, be sure and go again.
It's at the Hardware Exchange down on South Sandusky, across, next to the university, and
Oh, okay.
it is, it's
Yeah.
fun. The
Yeah.
line winds around the hardware
Yeah.
store and goes up the stairs.
That is a neat, yeah, really a
It is
neat
something.
tradition. Let's see, Troy Township, Tri-Township, I should say, Fire Department has their toy drive. I believe it's from 9 to 12, but it's this Saturday. And then I attended Bridges Community Action last night, and longtime Director Rochelle Twining is retiring. And so we have already appointed a new director from Pickaway County. So we're getting a lot of Pickaway people up here. So anyway, but Rochelle has done a wonderful job, has been there for 15 years. So then, and it's a tough job. So really helping those who need the help. And so it was good we sent her off, and I think that she's going to enjoy her retirement, but also miss her work at the same time. And we do have need for executive session.
We do. Resolution number 19-1227, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of compensation of a public employee or public official for pending or imminent litigation for collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1227. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Vinton?
Aye.
We are now recessed into executive session.
Resolution number 19-1228, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second, discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1228. Mr. Vinton is absent. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. We are now adjourned.
You love that, don't you?
I do.